17th of Evening Star, 4E201, Day 123, 4 months since Helgen. Today I gained entrance to the College of Winterhold. It was not difficult, although I had to first pass a magical test for the stern Altmer woman standing guard. The purpose of the test was to demonstrate that I had some skill in magic. Apparently, only a very small skill is required, for I was asked to cast a simple mage light spell. This was easily done, and I almost laughed out loud as I deftly conjured the glowing ball of light. It seems an age since I first struggled to learn it. Apparently, after completing that single requirement, I am now an apprentice of the college. That wasn't necessarily my goal, and frankly, while I want to learn, I really cannot stay. I only came here for soul gems and any quick tips I can gather. Once inside the college gates, Dean Mirabelle Irvine gave me a brief tour and showed me to my apprentice quarters. Not wanting to mislead her, I quickly informed her of my intentions. She did not seem fazed, which was a huge relief because I'd feared she might throw me off the grounds. She just nodded and said that once I'm able to return for study, I should report to the Hall of the Elements and join whatever lecture is in progress at that time. Once the tour was complete, I explored a little on my own to seek out the various teachers. I found most of them and was able to purchase a few powerful soul gems. I also found stores of alchemy reagents available on campus, most of which appeared to be free for the taking. I suppose it's all part of encouraging everyone to study and experiment. I took a few items, but tried not to be greedy, especially in my first few hours there. My last visit was to Faralda, the mage who had been guarding the path into the college. She is the destruction magic instructor, and she gave me some excellent tips to keep in mind on my travels. The college was rather humble inside, but all the knowledge available there made me want to stay and immerse myself in study. Still, I really had to complete a few tasks first, namely getting this file back to Norelian before his mortal time was up. With that in mind, I grudgingly led my team away from the college and back towards Windhelm. We stopped briefly at the Whistling Mine along the way to converse with the foremen and miners. They all have dreams of becoming rich, but, as I expect is the more common outcome, they've been mining for months without finding much of anything. Before leaving, I helped pull up a little bit of iron from the ground, which I handed over to the foreman for a modest sum of gold. We continued on down the road, passing by the Stillborn Cave. It looked quite unwelcoming, so we did not stop to investigate. When we rode back past Fort Castav, I was shocked to discover that a troop of Stormcloak soldiers had already moved in. Word must travel pretty fast around these parts. We took the road east towards Windhelm, parallel to the river, and passed by another round dirt mound. Somehow I missed seeing it on our first journey this way. Some scout I am. Back in the dismal city, we delivered the white file to Norelian. He was less than grateful, complaining that the file was too damaged to prove its worth. His assistant, Quintus, overheard our exchange and took it upon himself to thank and compensate us. Although the old shopkeeper had treated us poorly, I felt bad for him. How disappointing to finally be on the verge of completing your life's work, only to have it fall short of all your hopes and dreams. I forgave him his surliness, and I hoped he would find peace before his end came. Before leaving, I asked Quintus if he happened to have any of Willandria's missing items. Indeed he did, as she had left a soul gem there on her last visit. After that, we visited the other merchants in town and stayed overnight at the inn. On the morrow, we decided we would complete our survey of the hot springs area and then ride back to Riften to make some deliveries. We have collected all the various and sundry items that the Riften townsfolk had requested. And I'm ashamed to admit that I forgot all about retrieving that bow from the ratway for the farmer just outside town. With so many different tasks to complete, I cannot keep them all straight in my head. So I decided to begin noting all the specifics of these requests in a separate journal. A quest journal, I think I will call it. Hopefully that will prevent me from forgetting things in the future. Eighteenth of Evening Star, 4E201, Day 124. The sun was just rising over the peaks as we rode away from Windhelm in the morning. A light snow was falling, which felt very odd as we entered the steamy hot springs. Scouting the area, we came first to Krongvanger Cave. According to the blacksmith in Windhelm, Oengal War Anvil, this humble spot was the final resting place of an ancient and honored artifact, Queen Freydis' sword. Oengal was hoping to get his hands on the sword for Ulfric's Stormcloak. While I have no desire to take sides in this war, I have a soft spot for smiths after all the kindness they have shown me so far. So we fought our way through the cave, leaving the corpses of spiders and vampires in our wake. Sure enough, the sword was there, buried in centuries of dirt and grime. Leaving the cave, we finished our survey around the hot springs. We found more giants at Broken Limb Camp, and almost lost the horses when we got a little too close. In a copse of sorts called Witch Mist Grove, we were accosted by some mages who tried to send us to oblivion. Once they were taken care of, we headed towards a dilapidated shack in the middle of the grove. An old hag came running out of the shack shooting fireballs at us, so we dispatched her as well. There was nothing else of note in the sulfur pools, though I did enjoy the views. The surrounding land was fairly flat, and I could see tall, snowy peaks of the mountains in every direction. As evening started to fall, we headed south to Riften. Along the way, we stopped at Shore's Stone and delivered the sack of letters from Silja's father. Her gratitude was obvious, given the tears in her eyes as she peered into the sack. My heart was touched. It just felt so good to help these people. I was glad I could put my acquired skills to use in the service of others. 19th of Evening Star, 4E201, Day 125. Today, I spent the day visiting all the vendors around Riften to sell off things we acquired and look for things we might need. It was a busy day of haggling, and I'm glad to finally settle into bed at the Bee and Barb. 20th to 21st of Evening Star, 4E201, Days 126 and 127. I worked all day at the alchemy table for 2 days. That's how many ingredients I had accumulated during our travels. With all of that practice, my potion-making skills improved by leaps and bounds. I have now discovered more recipes than I could have imagined possible. I'm keeping notes on which items mix well together, and what effect their combination has. I am anxious to share these with Arcadia the next time I visit Whiterun. 22nd to 23rd of Evening Star, 4E201, Days 128 and 129. My next task was to make use of all the hides and ores I had collected. I spent 2 more days crafting, this time with Balamund. The smith has been almost ridiculously accommodating ever since I delivered more fire salts for his forge. He's also been grinning almost nonstop, and I think he even has a new spring in his step. We worked side by side in companionable silence for most of the time. Well, silent except for his whistling. Once again, I am warmed by the joy such a simple act of kindness can bring. Tomorrow we are heading down into the Ratway to see if we can find Draven's bow. After that, we will head west to make our other deliveries. I am sure Avrusa and the orcs will be glad to receive the reagents we have gathered. I don't mind retracing our footsteps and going a bit out of our way. I've discovered that charting this land has become secondary to me. I am coming to love its wild and unforgiving temperament, and spending time traversing its beauty has its own rewards. Perhaps Uthgerd is rubbing off on me. Every time we top a rise and look out over a breathtaking vista, she reminds me of her Nordic heritage and exclaims how much she loves this land. I have to agree that she has much to be proud of. 24th of Evening Star, 4E201, Day 130. I thought Riften itself was a dirty, sleazy place, but it didn't even compare to the filth we found down in the Ratway. And I'm not just talking about the dirt. The Ratway is what they call the sewer system that runs underneath the town of Riften. I would gladly have avoided it altogether if it wasn't for that infernal bow we had to retrieve. The sewer was inhabited by the scummiest low-life rabble I've ever seen. Well, perhaps bandits are worse, but today was a real eye-opener for me. Most of the people we came across down there were thieves, liars, and cheats, or simply bat crazy. They were mostly grimy and smelly to boot. I cannot imagine living in such conditions. With each passing day, I am more and more grateful for the privilege of my birth and upbringing. I hate to pass judgment on those who have not been as fortunate, but I cannot fathom why they accept their present circumstances. Surely they could do something more to improve their lives. The only people not living in complete squalor were a group we found hanging about in a tavern of sorts called the Ragged Flagon. A tavern! In a sewer! Maybe they qualified as bat crazy, but at least they seemed clean. They were a suspicious lot, however, and I found myself eager to be away from their shifty eyes. Uthgerd and I delved deeper into the sewers through a passage beyond the tavern, and we eventually found the thieves who had taken Draven's bow. They were dispatched without issue, and we eagerly made our way back to the surface. With nothing more to keep us in the city, we gladly headed out the north gate to deliver the bow and continue our journey. Draven was surprised and overjoyed at our success, and he rewarded us with a handful of gemstones. Our next stop was the Cyrodiil farm, where we delivered the grapes that Avrusa had requested. In addition to a handsome reward, she allowed us to pick from her current crop of nirnroot. That was quite a prize in itself, as the plant can be difficult to find in quantity out in the wilds. The forest surrounding the Cyrodiil farm was beautiful, and we found a perfect camping spot as night began to fall. With a soft wind rustling the trees above our tent, temperate weather, and a feeling of contentment at the good deeds we accomplished that day, I expected to have an excellent night's rest.